this session, we're going to use bands. Going to run through 10 really simple exercises. Most of it's all lower body. The last two will be a couple of upper body variations to use the longer bands as opposed to the short one that Simone used the other day. They're pretty straightforward. I'll run through a couple of variations of each as we go. But what I like to do, we're going to do 3 sets of 15. We've got deadlifts first. All right, so with this one, you probably want like a medium-sized band or a thick band because you're going to be quite strong in this movement. So you want something that's going to give a reasonable amount of resistance. So with this one hand on each loop, the rest of the band is underneath your feet, and we're just standing up with it. All right, so these are deadlifts. Deadlifts is pretty much just a hinge movement from the ground up into a lockout position. So if I show you side on, what we want with our deadlifts is to stick your bum back as far as you can, chest up, so your torso is nice and straight. All right. We want to avoid doing this sort of rounding of your back. All right, so bum back, chest up, bum back, chest up. You want to be putting all your weight through your heels. At the top, you want to be locking out with your glutes. So really emphasize a lockout with the hips there. So there your deadlifts. We're going to superset them with bent over rows. So we're in a 45-degree angle, and we're just rowing up to sort of the bottom of your rib cage there. We want to try and have our elbows tucked in a little bit so we're not throwing them out to the side. I'll show you side on. We want that position. So again, same as your deadlifts, we don't want to be rounding our back when we're doing the movement. We want to be chest up, bum back, rowing up. So I like to do about 3 sets of 15 with those ones. Try to have no rest in between each exercise. You can always make them harder if you've got access to it by adding some weights. So you can either do those movements with dumbbells, or you can do them with bands and dumbbells. What I mean by that, it's a little bit mucking around setting it up. You want to make sure the band is not going to fall out when you're doing the movement. But essentially it's that. All right. I'll show it side on as well. Bend over rows will be done the same way. Just adds a bit more resistance in the top half of the movement. All right. So they're the first 2 exercises. The next 2 exercises I'm going to show you, we've got sumo deadlifts. So with this one, I like to have my feet over just one half of the band. Then you're going to reach down and grab it so that we've got both loops in your hand. You want to widen your stance a little bit so that you get some sort of resistance here. If you've got a smaller band, you won't have to go quite as wide, but it is a sumo deadlift, so you do want a naturally wide stance anyway. And then we're just standing up with it. All right. With your sumo deadlifts, it's in between a squat and a deadlift movement pattern. So as we come down, you'll see that my hips are a lot lower than what they would be if I was doing a standard conventional deadlift. I'll show you side on. So you want to try and have your torso more upright compared to what you would if you're doing normal deadlifts. And the other thing to be mindful of, you want to try and push those knees out so they're in line with your heels or close to. And that way you're engaging through your glutes and the side of your leg as you're doing movement as well. All right, so there's sumo deadlifts. And we're going to superset them with high pulls. This is an upper body movement, I guess. We can do sumo deadlift high pulls, where that's the whole movement together, or we just do the high pull movement. All right. So we want to try and keep that same feet placement as we did before, just so that there's a bit more tension on that band. When we're doing our high pulls, you want to try and aim to have your elbows as high as you can, band in the middle of your body. So again, 3 sets of 15 with those ones. No rest between 2 exercises. If you want to, you can add more sets in. Probably wouldn't do more than say 5. Again, with those 2 exercises, you can add a weight. If you're going to add a weight with those ones, I'll probably go kettlebell, just because you only need 1, you don't need 2. The next 2 exercises we're going to do, we've got banded side steps. All right, so these ones work your abductors. You want to try and control it. So obviously you want to go as wide as you can to make it hard for you. You want to control that back leg, bringing it together. Control, back together. We don't want to be flinging it everywhere. Okay. So with this one, we go. Do 30 all up, so you end up doing 15 on each side. That one's pretty straightforward. And then we're going to superset that with squats. Like the easiest way to do it is to have the band double over again. I can give you the side steps. Have it slightly lower than your knees. You're going to go in a wider stance than what you usually are used to, just so that you get that extra tension through the band. When you get into position, turn your toes out slightly so they're not dead straight. And then you want to rotate your hips so that your knees are in line with your toes. We don't want to be squatting like this, so otherwise the knees will cave in, you end up getting knee issues and injuries. So you want to rotate everything, keep it tight, and then you drop down into your squat. Alright. So the benefit here is that band's going to help keep all these muscles through your glutes engaged throughout the whole movement. And you want to try, even at the bottom, keep focusing on pushing those knees out so they're in line with your toes. Can add a weight with this one as well, either a dumbbell, kettlebell, whatever. You can use a barbell if you've got access to it. So that's those 2. The next 2 exercises, these are leg ones as well. I'll go with a smaller band this time. You don't have to, but for this next movement, it's going to be 1 leg at a time. So you'll probably find it'll be easier to do a smaller band to start with. You can always change it after the first set if you need to. So what I'm doing here, making a little bit of a loop, put my foot in, all right, and then tighten it a bit. Still got to play around with this one. I don't have the technique down spot on in terms of stopping that band from sliding up your leg. But if you come up with any ideas, let me know. So you're sitting down. You can do this one on the chair if you don't have a bench with you. You want to hold that band just so there's tension, and then we're extending our leg. Extending our leg. All right, so this is similar to those leg extension machines you find at the gym. The only thing is you can only really do 1 leg at a time, because you'll find if you have both legs at the same time, that band's not going to stay where it's supposed to stay. It will start sliding up towards your knee. Not the end of the world, you just have to adjust after every 2 or 3 reps. So we're going to superset that one with leg curls. Now, you need something to anchor the band with. Anything will do. If you've got a post at home, even the leg of the table, if it's a nice solid table. Obviously, if it's not solid, don't use it. I'm going to use this kettlebell just because it's right here. Basically, you got to wrap it around so it hooks in. So it'll be the same setup when you're using a post. You slide it in, and then it goes under the loop that's in your hand, and then you pull it tight. Then we're going to step into the band. So you're in this position, hook the band over heels or your ankles. That way when you're doing your movement, it's going to tighten rather than loosen. And then we've just got leg curls. All right. With your leg curls, you want to try and keep your toes pointed up throughout the movement. You want to try and keep your hips down on the ground throughout the movement as well. If you're struggling to feel it through your hamstrings, just raise your body up a little bit, and that will force your hips to have to go down. When your hips go down, you'll feel it a lot more through your bellies. So with those two exercises, I do sets of 20. So 20 leg extensions on your left, 20 on your right, 20 curls, 3 rounds. Can't really add weight to those ones. You could try holding a dumbbell between your feet for your leg curls if you want, but I probably wouldn't do that. The last 2 exercises I'm going to show, we'll use this band. These are both upper body ones that I like doing with the long band. So lying down, you got the band behind your back, and we're doing a floor press. So it's very similar to a bench press, but you're obviously not full range of motion. We're just coming up, back down, up, back down. All right. Again, with this one, we can add weights. You can have a dumbbell in each hand if you want to. You just got to make sure that you have control of that band so it's not going to fling back and hit you in the face. With this movement, I try to make sure those elbows stay tucked in to some degree. We don't want them flaring out as you're coming up, otherwise it's going to hurt your shoulders. And at the top of the movement, you want to squeeze your chest together so you feel it through your pecs. Superset that one with overhead press. A few different ways you can do this one. I'm going to do it sitting down today just because. So half the band's underneath your butt, the other half's in your hands. Make sure it's even, and then we're just pressing straight overhead. So again, you can add weight for this one dumbbell in each hand if you want. Just be mindful again with your elbows. So if you're looking at me in the video, my elbows are basically in line with my hands. So it's a nice straight line with my forearm straight up. We don't want this sort of thing happening, and we don't want that sort of thing happening. We want everything nice and straight. We want to try and keep that elbow tucked in so it's a straight line. So yeah, there's a few different exercises. Those last 2 I go sets of 20 again as well. So 3 rounds. But yeah, that workout should take you, if you did 3 or 5 sets of each, probably take you 15-20 minutes. Obviously, with the bigger movements, so your deadlifts or your sumo deadlifts, use a thicker band. With your banded side steps and your floor presses, I'd use something a little bit smaller. But other than that, yeah, that's it. Give it a go and let us know how you go with it.